And I also want to thank the Senate sponsors for this tribute to first responders. Whenever I get an opportunity to share remarks about how much I appreciate law enforcement and first responders, I want to make sure that it's clear that I appreciate all that you do as it relates to public safety. Because whenever there is a time when someone needs something, people call 911. And there's always someone that answers that call when you're in the midst of a storm. Law enforcement and first responders have a very special place in my heart. And it has to do with my son. My son was brutally murdered, and it wasn't until I was in a courtroom. And in the courtroom, I had a chance to listen to the 911 call that was made against the murder and the shots that were fired on my son and his fiancée. And when I heard that 911 call, I heard the panic, and I heard the fear, and I heard this horrific scream, a scream that it's hard for me to get that scream out of my head. This woman was pleading for help from 911 to get to the scene as soon as possible. So my comments today is going to be about the dispatchers, the people that are in that dark room who answers those calls, those 911 calls. When I heard the call in the courtroom, it was traumatizing, the humanity that was displayed when someone was trying to save my son's and his fiancee's life. But the 911 dispatchers, they take calls like that every single day. They are saving lives. They are delivering babies. They are stopping crimes from happening. And I'm not quite sure if there's any 911 dispatchers here today, but I want you to know that I recognize your work. In the work of a 911 dispatcher, there's no glory or fame associated with it because they're not in a fire truck. They're not in a police car where you have the sirens going and it's speeding down the street. A lot of times they might not get the fame and the glory. But the 911 dispatcher, in my son's case, was able to facilitate law enforcement to get to the scene of the crime. And when I think about that dispatcher, I don't know how many calls they take a day. I don't know how long their shift might be. But I can only imagine how traumatic it might be, how dark it might be. I mean, I'm quite sure there's some high points and some low points. But I want to thank the 911 dispatchers for always being a lifeline for those who are in the midst of a storm. Call after call, there's someone there to answer a 911 call. And so for that, I appreciate all the work that you do for the state of Colorado. Thank you.
Senator